true. I mean, I can remember when I saw Van Damme again back on the cinema when I saw Expendables 2. And without a shadow of a doubt, he was one of the best things about that entire movie because that was one of the first few times I saw him play the villain to a great certain extent. But when he has that fight with Stallone at the end of the movie, and it's like you have a boxer against a martial artist, and but when I saw Van Damme throwing that kick in the air, the 360, what he's famous for, I was like, oh my God, he can still do that. And bear in mind, that was like over 10 years ago. But when he does it twice in one go, and then it's like, okay, Van Damme still got the stuff. And because you say, like saying it, the more you practice, the perfect you get better at it, isn't it?
Well,
and
it becomes a part of you. Like people ask me all the time, like,
it does.
Ron, do you practice? How many days a week do you work out? It's not that. It's that martial arts are part of my life. So it's like I practice it in an entirely different way. You know, some days I might just like do kicks in the form. I just want to go. I don't want to see how fast it is. I don't want to see how powerful it is. I just want, can I do the form? Then some days I go, how powerful is my kick? And try to see if my kick is powerful. You know, I've convinced people like Jeff Speakman, Van Damme, a couple people, Steven Seagal. They all have great movies in them. You know, if you put Van Damme in the right setting and tailor it around his strengths and what he's known to do, he's got a great movie in him. And I think that most people, that's why,
Definitely, it's like you said before when we were talking, like Steven Seagal. Because one thing I always remembered him and admired him for and respected him, he brought something different to the screen. Same thing with Jeff Speakman, was that both of them brought something different that nobody had ever seen before. Seagal brought Aikido to the screen. Everyone's always used to seeing a guy throwing kicks, throwing punches, but when you see this 6'4", lean built individual with a cool ponytail, which I shadow of a doubt it was, and he's grabbing people and throwing them like they're made out of paper. And same thing with Jeff Speakman. Nobody saw Kempo like that before, and it's like seeing a real life legitimate street art being brought to the screen. Because he said, I can remember one of the best things he said, in not just in my interview, but every interview I've seen him do, and he goes, he saw Van Damme in the cinema. He liked how people were cheering for him, but then he said on the way out, if people like this, wait till they see Kempo. I was congratulating him non-stop about when he said that, because I was so happy he said that on my show, because like, I hope he says it, and he said it. God bless him. And same thing we saw, like, nobody saw, and everybody used to see people seeing the kicks go in slow motions, but when I saw you throwing kicks with speed that I'd never seen before, I was like, I kept saying, this guy's some next level. And then I kept looking at the cliff. Who's he played by? Ron Hall. Okay, this guy's. And this was before the internet. This was before the internet came out, and I just saw you.
Well, what's another example of that is, you look like a relatively young guy. I don't know if you remember. Back in the 70s and 80s, when they had Thai boxing in movies, it was the most ridiculous thing you ever saw. They had a guy and they do the little move, and they would look goofy, and they play that goofy music, and it just looked goofy. And all of a sudden, they started doing kickboxing movies, and Kickboxer launched this whole fad of like kickboxing genre. And people, and then you had the ultimate evolution of that, which was Tony Jaa. And kickboxing now is like super respected on the same level of everything else. But there was a time when kickboxing was like, just like a goofy thing that people would throw in movies. And I can remember used to think, who respects this martial? Like, why are they putting this goofy ass martial art in a movie? But and it's kind of like, that's just about everything. Wushu. There was a time where like people go, Wushu is weak. Then Jet Li came along to show the powers and the dynamism of Wushu. And now people no longer go, Wushu is weak. So that can apply to any martial art. It's always interesting to see what's the next martial art fad that's going to come along. I kind of think it may be Tai Chi related. That's my intuition tells me Tai Chi ultimately will become this thing in martial art movies that, that's just my intuition. Who knows? It could be, But we've had, people didn't know what Pinchai Silat was before the raid and
Yeah,
the
that's
movie
true.
he did
Eco
before,
OS, yes, yeah,
Maritime.
and
Yeah, so
yeah, and it's the same thing when Mark Dacascos, when he brought capoeira to the screen. Nobody saw that because like, how are you going to take on a guy who's throwing a dance in the street? Because I can remember one of the things he does in the movie when he's teaching them stubborn street kids, when he's like, they're laughing at him, and they're going, one's going like this, going like that, and he's doing the capoeira Jenga. He goes, it looks funny. He goes, no, it looks very funny, because it's the basics for moves like this. When he's throwing all those kicks, and then he's doing a 360 in the end, they were like, okay, we can't really make fun of that. Maybe we should learn this. And it's true. One thing I don't like when people put shame to martial arts, because it's like, it's a way of life. It's the way somebody lives their life. So, they're showing respect for you, how you live your life, but all they ask in return is show a little respect for them. It's like, there are people who, who spend their life reading books, learning stuff. Yeah, that's fine. That's your life. But the other people who want to learn how to look after themselves, learn martial arts, everything. But yeah, that's just the way their life is. Everybody's life goes down a different path. Nobody's on the same straight line.
Oh yeah, in terms of just like how martial art, gets into things. I'll give an example. There's a movie called RRR. It's an Indian film. It's an action film. Have you ever seen it?
And no, I'm afraid I haven't. No, but I'll get around to it.
Do yourself a favor and watch this movie. They have a dance sequence in this movie that literally all you can say about it is that's kung fu. This dance sequence is so incredible. I think you can look it up on YouTube I think it's called Nacho Nacho. Watch their movement. Watch their movement. This is kung fu. They're dancing and they're not fighting at all. But it's the same damn thing you see when you see a martial art movie. You get out of that fight. It is mind blowing. And trust me, watch it. Watch it soon. And it's called, like I said, the movie's called RRR, and the scene is called Nacho Nacho. And man, the way the speed, the strength, the power, the variancy in the movement, the tech, it's just like watching, it's like watching a Venom's movie at the end. Oh man, it's incredible. Oh yeah.
I appreciate the recommendation there, Ron. I appreciate that. So one last question: what, as yourself as a martial artist, what is the most important lesson to learn from martial arts?
What did I learn from martial arts? Oh, I've learned life from martial arts.
What would you say is the most important lesson that anyone can learn from martial arts? Other than learning how to defend themselves.
If you could repeat that, I couldn't hear you because it stopped for a second.
That's fine. So I said, what, as yourself as a martial artist, what would you say is the most important lesson to learn from martial arts itself?
I would say this. Martial arts is such an expansive exploration that I would probably never want to distill it down to one single thing. There's myriad things you can learn from martial arts that, you can learn how to become better, improve yourself, recover yourself, train yourself, learn by yourself, defend yourself, feed yourself. I mean, martial arts is essentially like a life course. It is literally like a life course. And you can tell that by the martial artists. If you know martial artists, they are cut from a different breed than a lot of other people You will just be able to recognize. You'll be in a store someplace, standing in a line, and there's a guy standing almost next to you. You can look at him and go, oh, that's a martial artist. Because it's just, what comes from martial arts by learning it. So I would say, to get like what do you call it? Not a panacea, but to take one thing from martial arts and say, this is the thing. I don't think that's the way you should look at it. I think how you look at it is that martial arts has so many things that it literally can become part of your DNA when you learn martial arts. It becomes a part of who you are, how you function, how you move through the world, how you interact, and how you deal with life. That's martial arts. As a matter of fact, people who only respect the fighting side of martial arts, they are missing out on a wealth of knowledge, capability, understanding. They're missing out a wealth of it, and the vast majority of it. Fighting is a fantastic byproduct, not byproduct and product of martial arts. But all the other things that you get, perfect example, the very fact that, I'm in my 60s and I can do backflips. It's like that's a product of martial arts.
It is,
I
yeah. I
know,
agree with that.
most of my 60-year-old friends can't do that, so, and when, before I became 60, I didn't know 60 years old when I was growing up, see a 70-year-old man doing a backflip or something like that. So that's what can come from martial arts. I'll get, to share something personal, about a year ago, I literally wanted to get away from all of this and just I just gotten tired of trying to get to a place and being knocked back and trying to work with this person or that person and all kind of madness. And I just was like, you know what? I'm just done with this. I will just go do something else. And in that time, which was about a year, I literally, like contemplated about who I am as a martial artist and what martial arts mean to me. And I came to the determination of I'm a martial artist. That is what I am, who I am. That's the dynamics of what comes from my existence. And I will never stop doing this until I have to stop. That's literally how I have focused, is that I will do martial art movies until I cannot do them anymore. And as being a creator in other areas, such as I can write, I can fight choreograph, I can action design, I can produce, gives me a lot of time that, maybe I could probably work with this incapacity for the rest of my life. So martial arts is just a tremendous gift. That's why I'm dedicated to being a part of it and to help it manifest, because it's a gift. It is a beauty. There's a lot of things wrong with martial art. There's a lot of exploitation, violence, but the totality of martial arts is just a powerful gift to the world. And there's so many wonderful martial artists all over doing movies, teaching martial arts schools, private instructors, people who are writing books, people who are making movies, people who are teaching classes. Martial arts is just an incredible thing, and you can tell by its growth. Like I said, there's no place you can go if people are not doing martial art. There was a time when martial art was like a secret club thing. It was odd. You were goofy for doing it. You went in your class, it was 3 or 4 people. Now people got martial arts schools, you go in there, there's 100 people. Coming in and going out. So So that's how powerful martial arts is. And I'm, and like I said, I had to relearn how important martial arts was to me. And now I know is that I will be a martial artist until I can't move. That's who I will be. And some of my mentors, Eric Lee is a perfect example. Eric Lee, who's, I don't know how much older than me than he is, but he still is as amazing as you ever saw. He can jump down in the split. He can do all his forms. He's fast. He's powerful. He's knowledgeable, and he's an older guy. So, that's what martial arts give to people. And I'm just blessed to be a part of it.
I just want to say, so from all the martial artists you have worked with, and you have worked with such an esteemed group of people, and as we did mention, you have worked with Daniel Bernhardt, you've worked with Nicholas Hill, Donald Gibb, Chad Stahelski. And because Chad went on to direct the John Wick movies and everything, would you jump at the chance if he invited you to come back for it? Because I know Scott Adkins himself was saying to him, oh, you got to put me in a John Wick movie, you got to do this, we got to do that. Would you jump at the chance for that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to be in a John Wick movie. I think I would make a very formidable opponent for Keanu Reeves. So absolutely. But however, I'm actually starting my first film as a lead actor in about 13 years. It's been since I've started a movie. It's very John Wick similar. It's called The Interceptor, and it's basically John Wick meets the Terminator. I play an assassin who stops other assassins from killing you. And it's martial arts centric. And you'll have a lot of your favorite martial art like masters in it. And like I said, it's a John Wick type premise. So I would like to be greedy and do both. To do my film, which would be a low budget John Wick movie, and to work with Chad on an upcoming John Wick film, or Highlander for that matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Highlander. There can only be one, like as they say. There can
I don't need to be one. Yeah.
Well, there is one Ron Hall, and we like him and respect him and admire him for everything he's done. No, I'm sincere. I mean, when people still haven't, they're not going to believe that I have spoken to you. So we'll wait till it happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that. One thing that has kept me going, has been, love from fans, meaning that anytime that I've ever thought about stop doing it, somebody will write me a letter or send me an email or something saying I inspired them. They like my movies. They want to see me in another movie. So, and it's kind of fuel for your soul. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's really sweet. That's a really good thing, because there are a lot of people when they reach a high certain status with their career, and then there are times when fans want to come, they can be quite dismissive of the fans that, no, I don't have the time to talk to you, but without realizing the fact that the fans are the ones who've actually helped them achieve what they wanted to achieve in the first place, because they look up to them, they admire them, they respect them, they respect their craft and everything. Because I know it's an old cliche saying, but there's a saying that without the fans, where would somebody be? But one thing I've always respected about yourself, and I will always be grateful, and I'll always cherish this podcast, this interview and everything, how you took the time out for me. I really respect that. I mean, I will always appreciate that, Ron, honestly. And because I never thought in a million years I'd ever get the opportunity to speak to such a great individual like yourself. But today, I am again so eternally grateful for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't invent it. I got it from people who did it for me. When I very first started pursued to get into the film industry, one of the very first people that I had contact with was Sho Kosugi. I wrote Sho Kosugi. I still have the letter around here somewhere, but I wrote Sho Kosugi and asked him, about getting into movies, and I wanted to get into movies. And he wrote me back, gave me his phone number, and, he was very supportive, and he was very, encouraging, and we had a good relationship. And Mako, do you remember Mako?
Oh, Mako, yeah. I spoke to Jeff Speakman about it as well, yeah.
Right. Marco was another person who contacted me right away. It took me maybe about 2 weeks. I wrote him a letter, and he gave me a call. Brandon Lee was actually got me on my first movie set. He was making, what was the movie with Dolph Lundgren?
Oh, Showdown in Little Tokyo. Yeah. Classic
Showdown in Little Tokyo. And I contacted Brandon and through his agent, and he contacted me and invited me down, and me and my buddy, we went down to see them making Showdown in Little Tokyo. So people have done it for me, and I'm more than happy to pass that on. I understand the energy exchange and kind of the value of fans supporting you and you supporting your fans. So yeah, I appreciate it.